Hello, this is the cast project we decided to do. It's a tour of three continents around the world, more specifically, America, Europe, and Asia. The summer of senior year, each of us decided to take a trip to these three locations and capture the culture of the country we were at through the pictures.
We initially planned on educating our classmates about the different cultures outside of Virginia. With the advancement of technology, we are able to connect and communicate with others around the world at a faster rate. However, we believe that in order to create a genuine relationship with others around the world and understand their lives, we thought that understanding their culture was very important.
In this PowerPoint, we will be comparing and contrasting the differences of each culture in terms of their attractions, architecture, people, and food.
Fanika went to Pakistan, Sion went to New York City, Florida, and Pennsylvania, and I went to the UK and Italy and Croatia. For this slide, we put in pictures of the food that we ate. Here you can see that I had British scones and tea, a typical afternoon meal to have between lunch and dinner time. The second picture shows a typical Italian dish, which is tortellini, a type of pasta. Lastly, while I was in London, I had Indian food. Although Indian food is not typically a British dish, it is very common among British people to love eating Indian food. In fact, many of the best Indian restaurants in the world are actually found in London as well as India.
In this slide, I collected pictures of the food that I ate while traveling to these different states. Outside of Virginia, there isn't much of a difference in food, although in my personal experience, I believe that there are more added spices to foods when heading down south, and there seems to be a lot of fried options down there as well. The American fast food chain is almost everywhere, especially in the East Coast. Much of the food that I ate wasn't that different from the ones in Virginia. The first pic shows fried chicken with mac and cheese, which I believe is a popular dish almost everywhere. Next, I got feta and veggies with Quiana soup with a baguette. In America, most foods that we claim to be American are actually modified versions of food from around the world, such as the baguette depicted on the right.
In terms of architecture, I noticed how different cultures tended to have unique styles of buildings and other attractions. In the first picture, one can see a small street in the British village in Cornwall called Lizard, the most southern point in England. Buildings tend to be made out of stone, and houses are normally found in the form of cottages. They can vary in color, as seen by the blue and pink building. In the second picture, one can see an Italian cathedral in Naples, Italy. Cathedrals tend to be named after different saints. Cathedrals are very elaborately designed and normally date back from the 1200s to 1700s. There are tombs of saints found inside, stained glass windows, sculptures of biblical persons, and much more. The third picture was taken in the capital of Croatia, Dubrovnik. Similarly to England, much of the buildings are made out of a light colored stone. The streets and buildings are both made out of this. The fourth picture shows an ancient Roman villa ruin next to the sea.
In this slide, we'll be looking at the different attractions located in both the US and in Europe. In the US, different areas have different types of attractions. When I went to New York, most of the attractions was mostly scenery, such as buildings, paintings, and shops that contain unique items that can't be found anywhere else. There was not a place assigned for many of these attractions located in New York. They were right in the middle of civilians' everyday lives. However, when I went to Pennsylvania, most of the attractions have designated area for their attractions, as the civilians in that area didn't live clustered up together as they did in cities like New York. So with all that free space, there were attractions like amusement parks and nature hikes to tour. In Florida, I had a mixture of New York and Pennsylvania feeling. There were a lot of people clustered up there, and but there was also enough space to incorporate all sorts of attractions, from amusement parks to multiple nature hikes.
In the lower left picture, one can see the infamous Roman city of Pompeii. This city is well known for the volcano Vesuvius's eruption and destruction of the city. The last picture shows part of a castle on the island of Korčula in Croatia. The tower is an example of what medieval castle architecture looks like. Although I didn't get to take that many pictures of people, I did get a photo of my two friends from Naples standing next to my mom and sister on the left.
One picture I thought captured the American culture would be in Disney World, where most of the people came to relax and spend time with their family, as it's done mostly during the summer in America. Although the US seems so vast with its diverse amount of people and places, much of the US celebrates the same celebrations, such as July 4th. Here, Americans come together to celebrate their Independence Day from Britain. It's celebrated with a bunch of fireworks and cookouts.
As shown in a couple of slides before, this picture of the Croatian castle also shows a snippet of a Croatian festivity going on. A band had come to the island and people were eating at restaurants, singing, dancing, and drinking. People stayed late into the night to celebrate and party. This first picture shows a typical British piece of artwork, namely glass-made keychains capturing the colors of the Atlantic Ocean on the coast.
The statue of the unnamed U.S. Civil War general is found in Pennsylvania's Nature Park. Like this statue, most of the art found in the U.S. has a lot to do with history behind a certain area or event. Most of the art is done in the form of statues to get all sorts of people to admire and learn more about it.
The last picture shows the pink building in the village of Lizard from a different angle. I thought this was artistic because one doesn't always find flower shops residing in super bright pink buildings, and I thought it was really pretty to look at.
Hi, my name is Panika, and I traveled to the different parts of Pakistan and I took pictures of their food, their different landscapes, and their holidays that I got to celebrate while I was there. While my visit in Pakistan, I got to try a bunch of different types of foods, starting from homemade to street food, to barbecue, continental like pizza. Pakistani food contains a variety of foods: street foods, barbecue, homemade fresh food, continental foods such as pizza, McDonald's. Um, One of the things that I noticed is that spices are the major component of each and every food. Um, all the food that they have creates a variety of spices used to make them. Um, the best part of their food that I love is the street food because it's not something that you would be able to make at home or find here in America. All the other food that usually my mom is able to make, but the street food, my mom doesn't really get the taste. So that's one of the best parts that I got to try. Um, there's different types of food. There's like sandwiches, and then there's like platters which have like chicken and bread on the side with some salad and sauces. And then homemade food also includes a different variety of foods and sweets and stuff. While on my trip to Pakistan, I got the chance to visit many different places that most people are not able to go because they're too far and a little dangerous to go to. I got to visit the capital of Pakistan, Islamabad. Um, it contains a really big masjid, a mosque, which a lot of people go to for to pray. I also got to travel to the northern areas of Pakistan, which a lot of people don't know about and or haven't seen. Most of the time, when people think of Pakistan, they think of the dirty streets, pollution, and trash. But if you look at the northern areas, they include a variety of mountains, lakes, snow. We got to travel all the way to the China and Pakistan border. Um, it and the way we saw huge mountains, different types of animals, waterways, and we got to spend about a week in there, in those areas, and we got to see their different types of people, different foods, and just a new perspective at Pakistani culture. I was also very lucky to be able to celebrate one of the biggest Islamic holidays in Pakistan. This holiday is known as Eid, which is kind of like Christmas, but in Islam it's Eid. There are two Eids in the year, and the one I got to celebrate was the second one. This Eid is the animal Eid, so we get different animals such as goats, cows, and camels, and we take care of them for a few days before Eid, and we feed them, we take care of them, and then on Eid day we sacrifice them and distribute the meat. On this Eid, the girls on the night before Eid, we all got together and got our henna done, did our nails, and just got to go shopping and buy different types of clothes and jewelry for Eid. Um, One thing that I noticed while being there is that family is a really big component, a really big part of Pakistani culture, especially on holidays like Eid and stuff. I noticed that all the families got together from all over Pakistan and we all got together. We did barbecue. It was just nice to have a lot of family around and we just talked and had fun, which is hard for us to do here in America because everyone's so busy. So that was a really nice part of being able to celebrate a holiday in Pakistan.
A few similar comparisons between the cultures that we visited and studied included how people tended to dress pretty similarly. This most likely has to do with us living in modern day society. Now that we are in the 21st century, globalization has increased a lot due to immigration and job opportunities. Furthermore, even though celebrations differ throughout all cultures, the atmosphere of celebration remains consistent all throughout. People will go out to parties, socialize with friends and family, and eat and drink.
From two of the three continents that we've talked about, the one that seems to have similar cultures are Europe and America. Due to the diverse amount of people in America, America tends to have a much more laid back culture than in Europe. Much of American culture is made up of many cultures and is modified to fit everyone, such as fashion, celebration, and certain architectures like the ones in DC. They are all incorporated from different cultures. European and Asian fashion trends differ slightly compared to American fashion trends. Dresses and styles of pattern can be more unique and designed for petite women. Architectures in Europe and Asia is much more older than architectures in America, which is much more modern. Celebrations are different based on the country's history. Food is different in every culture, which has to do with the differing geographical agriculture. There is a lot more history in Europe and Asia due to civilizations having resided there for over 2,000 years. People behave very differently in each culture according to differing customs and traditions.
So, in conclusion, we can see that Europe and US differ greatly. There are some similarities between the two when it comes to food and different fashion trends. But when you bring in Pakistani culture, it differs greatly. There isn't any food that's similar or any of the fashion trend that's similar. We believe that it's very important to be aware of the different cultures that surround us because a person's personality greatly depends on the culture that they're from. It's greatly reflected from the culture. And if you want to be friends with someone, or in the future, like if you're working with someone, it's really it's good for you to know their culture, so it's easier for you to communicate with them and understand them better, so that your relationship goes smoother. Um, we have to be aware of if we're aware of the different cultures and religions around us. It also eliminates racism and all those other negative effects of not knowing different cultures and religions. And we really think that culture shouldn't be taken for granted. We should appreciate the different food, the clothing, the architecture, the lifestyle that our parents came from, or our grandparents came from, our ancestors came from, because it can show us a new perspective in life.